tonight about what day is best for everybody and trying to get another date set.
And Greg is working, he showed me the rough draft, and he's drawing it up now. He's literally the only draftsman, engineer, architect we could find to work on such a simple thing.
And they couldn't just draw one up like what Journey did with pen and paper?
Well, that's basically what it is I tell you, the site plan for, the previous, the rock shop, they did an awesome job on their site plan. So basically, and they had everything marked off and everything. So basically what Greg is doing is changing the title type and redrawing the whole thing according to what the previous one. It was acceptable before. You'd have a hard time turning down somebody that had a thriving business, is ready to move in, there was no violation.
As long as they, and like I said, I still want to, if I find the time, I still want to try to piece together, like I said at the last meeting, just some checklist. So somebody could just get online and go right down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so they don't have to mess around until come back to meeting after meeting.
Oh, you haven't? Oh, I'm glad. I don't care if there's controversy. I like people coming.
I got, by the way, my weekend, 50 hours in driving bags, trucking, delivering packages from the last meeting we had tonight.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Do not really care for anything about it.
The most I've ever worked at Dow was 112 hours in 1 week.
I bet you my wife isn't quite close to that, but the one day, from Monday to Sunday, she left and was at work at 6 a.m. and walked through the door between 6 to 7 o'clock, and Monday through Sunday.
Yep.
Because she's, that particular week, they're trying to figure out how to get it's like an electrical building. So instead of like building their own building for all the breakers, it was like a pre-built facility.
Yes.
And it was coming from like Wyoming or someplace out west of where they built it. And this truck had to get escorted through every single state because it was wide load. They made it, and she got home on Saturday right before sundown, and her phone rings. The truck got pulled over outside of Hemlock, 7 miles from the gate.
Did she get paid for it, I hope?
Oh yeah, she's hourly.
Good.
And
very good.
And so she's like, if you want me to sit here for 12 hours at the rate you're paying me, I will sit here and I will smile. Because by Thursday, it will be overtime.
Well, the thing is, you want to do that for your company too. There's...
Well, she's hoping she gets brought on to one of the main companies, because she's still like a really small subcontracting company. So she wants to get picked up by Three Rivers or Corteva itself.
Okay.
Because if she gets picked up there, her insurance gets like 1,000 times better. And she will probably get, even if she gets turned into salary, she will probably still see like a 10% pay bump. So, because she's literally running, I think she said the project is supposed to be like a 7 billion or something like that.
Yeah.
Some stupid, ridiculous price, 1 billion, I don't know. Just some stupid number with a B at the end. But yeah, that building got pulled 7 miles, pulled over. Because he got the route from MDOT. Saying he will not hit anything on the route through Michigan while being escorted. Roads are all clear. Took out a power line. Going through Hemlock, so he got pulled over.
There's a reason why they knew he wasn't a good driver.
Well, with the MDOT paperwork, they said if you stay on this route, your truck and the height dimensions the company gave us, there should not be a single issue. You should not hit one single thing. And he ended up, I guess, peeling open the side of the place on overpass somewhere down in Detroit, going down the same path, and then knocked down a power line in Hemlock. Yeah. No, it was Friday night he did that because my wife was panicking because wide loads aren't supposed to travel in Michigan on the weekends or at night. So it was like 30 minutes before the official sunset. So she had to get a hold of her boss, which had to get a hold of their boss to call the county sheriff to get them an escort into the plant, or it was stuck on the side of the road until Monday morning.
Oh, we're gonna start pretty soon. I forgot. Kathy's not here. She hasn't. Are you taking this one?
No, I am, but I haven't started yet.
Okay. Just give us one to.
See, I was just talking to talk and waiting for Kathy. Here she's not coming.
Yeah, she's on vacation till Friday around 1 o'clock.
What's the best reference for rezoning?
There isn't much in our book.
Is that copy still there? So I don't lose it?
Oh, I think I took it.
I just need my copy.
Okay.
Cause I spent.
Sorry about that.
It's all good, I spent, the little time I had this weekend, I spent maybe an hour looking for that original letter with that date, that the board set, and I couldn't find it. So,
All right. Yeah,
no, I don't care if you keep the original, I get a copy, I don't really care as long as I get a
Okay.
copy. Just so I have it and I don't lose it again.
okay. Yeah. It's an update.
Man, I was hoping more people would read it. It was nice last
Yeah.
night, having more eyes staring back at us.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nights, there's nobody in here.
She probably understands.
People are watching.
Oh, so do you broadcast all your meetings?
Well, I was telling her when she first got here, that one of the things that I would love to see in like 4 years is if we can back when everything kind of settles down, that we can settle, I'd love to see this get brought up to like a smart meeting room, to where it's broadcast right to our Facebook page, everything's mic'd up, everything's set technology wise, because then there's no, what did I miss at the meeting, you can always just jump online and watch it, and there's, you know.
Okay, I call this meeting to order, it is what, 7:05? Okay, please take, a roll call of the members, please.
Lawrence,
Present?
Mary,
Here.
Marie,
And Kathy has an excused absence, she's on vacation. And, we're lacking one member, Jeremy resigned last week. We weren't hard on him either. Okay, I'd like to, modify the agenda by adding correspondence after our guest as number 5, and then renumbered consecutively after that.
I will make a motion to amend the, agenda.
Okay,
second.
there's a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign please. Okay. I don't have the minutes, I don't know if Kathy was gonna try to get them done before she went on vacation.
Let me look, cause, there may be in our email, and I can print them off real quick.
These ones,
Yeah, it
Those
is. Oh, I never got it. Oh, okay,
That's what I said, I thought I seen them in the email.
okay. Let me read real quick, just have patience with it. You have it?
Oh, I read them once.
Okay.
There it is.
Okay. I skimmed through it once, but, you guys feel comfortable with the
Oh, yeah.
minutes? Yeah.
She does such an
I
amazing
know,
job on
she
the layout
does.
that it's, I
I didn't look at the dates, so the dates, yeah, it's pretty straightforward, pretty straight. Okay, I make a move that we approve the minutes as written.
second.
There's a motion on the floor and a second to, approve the minutes as written by Kathy for the August 12th meeting. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed, same sign please. The minutes are approved. Okay, the next thing on our agenda is Lindsay Dangle. She's an attorney, and I can't remember the insurance company, but she's talking to us. She wrote out a proposed, signs ordinance revisions. And we're gonna be going through that, so bear with us.
Yes, so we had previously, had some confidential communications about the direction, and legal questions on this. But I did submit, for the planning commission's review, the proposed changes to the sign ordinance, and there are, quite a few areas where you still need to make, decisions, relative to how many signs and in what area and all that, and I also gave you guys the handbook, if you will, and a couple of resources from the state, nothing's binding, but just advisory resources that I hope you've had a chance to look at. So really for tonight, this is your chance to discuss and amend this as you want to, so that hopefully we can get it to a public hearing real soon. And if I can be of help and guidance, that's what I'm here for.
I have some comments about it. I guess we'll have to talk through the number of signs in what district.
You know the date you sent that again? Cause I was gonna put it up on my
It was
calendar.
Thursday, just before, the site plan meeting. Okay, can I just go through
Yeah.
what the points that I have?
I didn't get it.
You didn't? Oh, I got another copy. I always make 2 copies. Okay, on the first page, I'm okay with that. That's basically the, table of contents, and we crossed out, or you crossed out table 11, table of signs allowed. I have a question about you're talking about, under signs on page 26.
Yes.
Let's see. Now there's we have a home, not a home, it's a home business, but they have a large banner across their garage, and it's definitely bigger than 32 square feet. And I don't know that it's ever had, a permit or anything for it. These are all grandfathered in, and would they be grandfathered in then?
It depends on how you wanna do it. We can do it either way. They can either be grandfathered in, or, generally how it works is that a zoning ordinance amendment takes effect a certain number of days after it's enacted and approved by the board and the county. And so then, they would have to follow the new rules relative to anything from that point forward. So it's really whichever you'd like me to include, either one is perfectly legally acceptable.
I guess I'm more towards having it legally acceptable. I mean, have them follow the sign ordinance once it's, rather than grandfathering it in, because a sign is something you can change. It's kinda hard to change a non-conforming building or something like that, so. How, do you guys agree?
I do I agree with that because who's to say what if a sign hasn't been seen and they say, hey, I've had this up, but they haven't? How do we know that they're grandfathered in? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I can
Yeah.
certainly make sure that that's clear.
Okay. And I understand the area measurement of the sign, that one's okay too. Actually, I'm glad to see a lot of these, this wording go away, including the pictures of the marquee sign.
Right, it's just not necessary for the new direction that you're heading.
No. It makes it hard to, proceed with enforcement when there's that many things. Sorry. Okay, I have a question on page 29, number S, portable temporary sign.
Yes.
on the one hand, you talked about, I think you talked about banners or flags, but, our banners and, our banners, I'm speaking about the building that, the commercial, or the home building that has the sign, is that banner associated with being temporary then?
The way that this is currently drafted, yes, and flags are separate, cause we separated those out, but, banners would fall under the portable temporary signs and be regulated with those portable signs.
Okay, and that was in chapter, no.
Yeah, the portable sign section, so it's mentioned a couple of times. The first one is under signs exempt from permitting, to allow temporary signs so long as they don't exceed the square footage requirement or so many per parcel. Just because frankly, if you're going to try to regulate every single garage sale and lemonade stand and whatever, you're gonna spend all
Quite a
day
long
looking at
time,
signs,
yeah.
correct. But then also under permitted signs, there is a section specifically, well, you know what, as I'm looking at this, the version that you have does not have a specific section for a portable sign as a permitted sign, just that it cannot exceed the square footage under the, to be allowed without a permit. If you would like, we can change that and give it a specific requirement.
I think,
There's really a lot of flexibility here.
I think if we're aiming at the most simple, this is simplest, straight, this is what we're trying to do is best, and I think leaving stuff is, if you were going for just simple, square footage is the simplest way to go. That the township is going to let you do whatever you want to do on your property as long as you fall into this box, and that involves safety and outside of safety, and we don't care. And I think so far with what I'm seeing, for the most part, that's kind of where this is going with the experience.
Yeah, I wanna amend what you said, we don't care. We do
Well,
care.
we do care as long
Yeah.
as, you know, safety wise, cause, you know, when it comes to signs, it's one of those things to where like, as the township, you know, we need to make sure this new one doesn't infringe on freedom of speech or anything like that. And that's what I guess what I meant by when I say like township, like we're not looking at that, we want, as long as it involves safety, like is only, in my opinion.
So the portable signs, I guess I don't have a problem with the portable signs being, cause you have flashing, you know, you see them for lawn service, you know, out on M20, we're open now or not. I don't have a problem with that being permanent or temporary.
Well, and that's, you mentioned another point, so requirements for all signs, we require that, you know, they don't interfere with vision or that kind of thing. If you want to be very clear on, you know, for example, you can't have flashing lights, you can't have something like that, those type of hazards probably apply equally to whether the sign is on a pole or stuck in the ground, whatnot like that. So if we wanted to do something like that, that would go under the new section 6.3 with requirements for all signs.
Now, when it comes to say like flashing signs, what's the definition of flashing sign?
Again, that's a spot where there's a lot of flexibility. We can define and structure that, you know, if you have specific concerns about how that might affect motorists, or you have something specific in mind.
No, I just know we have one sign already in our township that and I think it's at church, I think there's two of them.
I don't know about the church.
I
There's
thought
one
the
near
church has
County
words
Service.
that every so many seconds it changes to another text or picture,
Okay.
and in my opinion, it don't really bother me driving by. I don't really assume that it's like a flashing sign, cause it's not like, you know, flashing just open repeatedly, or the same text, you know, like every 2 seconds, it's like
It scrolls.
it scrolls. So that's the reason I asked, because I think the church has a scrolling sign as well, to where, to me, those aren't considered flashing, but to some other people, anything with lights might be considered flashing.
The only one I was thinking about is that Allied Accounting Service just north of, M20 on 7 Mile.
Yeah, that's very bright.
Yeah,
I think it comes close to it, cause I live out that way and there's been times at night I go on 20 and it's just, so I think that's kind of.
Well, I mean,
our enforcement officer, gave her permission to do it,
Okay.
and, oh no, the township code authority did, but I have a problem with that sign, so. We can discuss that at a later
Right.
time.
I kinda wanna backtrack a little bit when we were talking about the portable signs.
Uh-huh,
So you're talking the ones that some people have flashing for sales and stuff like that, at businesses, but they have wheels on them. that can move
yeah,
around.
that's what I'm thinking of.
Is there something set in place where people can't put those on their lawn? People put them in their yard?
The way it's structured, anywhere on the lot.
So those could be on private and someone's lawn as well as.
Correct.
Okay.
So, and I don't mean to get off track, but I wanna address the light thing. So the requirements for all signs are there under the new 6.33, but there's also prohibited signs under 6.4. And we did have 6.4H in there to any signs which incorporate any flashing or moving lights. And if you guys want to give a further definition to that, to allow, for example, computerized signs with text, we can make that more clear if you would like to do that. I think being as clear as possible is the best choice here.
Yeah, too much gray.
What is the, like, golden standard to that?
I wish there was one, there's not. We have looked at multiple different entity types, and really it's all over the map as far as what different municipalities are doing. The concern usually with flashing lights is driver and pedestrian safety during night hours and that kind of thing, when it might be a distraction. So the question is, in this commission's judgment, what constitutes that kind of distraction to a driver? We did look and see if there was a state, study done or something. They haven't done it. So I was a little surprised that MDOT hadn't done some kind of study.
I know.
But they have not. So
Because the only thing is when it comes to signs, it's just hard to define flashing light, I guess. Especially if it's not flashing a single word repeatedly or whatever, because as long as you're scrolling text, if it's an LED light, it's gonna be bright. You got new LED lights that you can turn on and see a mile away.
I think I'm gonna drive by that, flashing thing, sign again tonight, probably.
another option you could change that to if you wanted to, if we wanted to pick a different word than flashing, is we could pick, for example, strobing lights or something that might
I like
be more
that.
specific
Yes.
to a bright flashing light in a driver's eyes.
Yeah. I think so, how do you guys feel?
Maybe if you do want to go after something like that, you set hours to it. So if somebody wants to put a scrolling sign up and they choose to use LEDs, which may be bright, and they shoot it as a strobing light, that you just ask for the sign to be turned off at dusk. So when it's gonna be the most distracting for a driver, because it could be LEDs and it could be a scrolling sign, you just say, hey, as a distraction to drivers, can you please, turn the sign off at night? Cause that way.
Dusk to dawn.
That way, you don't look at somebody and say, you can't have that sign, because it's just a scrolling sign, it's not strobe light, but it just happens to be LEDs. And it's super bright, and somebody's like, oh, I know that's strobing, and it's like, no, that's just a standard LED scrolling sign. That every time it scrolls to tell me the next phrase, it flashes or strobes to bring the new text on.
And I think too, it matters how the sign is positioned as well.
Yeah.
Cause a sign like that one that we were mentioning, if it was turned just a little bit,
Yeah.
it would be, so I think, is there somewhere wording that it could also be, the discretion too of the township? Like if somebody complained about it and the township went out to look at it, what if it's not?
I don't think that'd be a good idea.
No, I want one authority,
The
Choose one person to decide, and that would be the code authority.
Cause the township has a history, of
Not
one,
proper
every 4
enforcement.
years, the enforcement changes. And I'm assuming more townships than just us have that problem, that every election cycle, the way stuff gets enforced changes.
No, Tim was in office a long time.
But
It's code
he still
enforcement
reports to
officer.
the board. What I'm saying is as boards change, the way people view things and want things enacted are gonna change to where if you have one set of rules, it can only be read one way, enforced one way. There's not room for interpretation of a commission or a board to say, 4 years ago that wasn't strobing, but new election came in, now it's
Yeah,
strobing
we
light.
feel it is, right, yeah, that's true.
Well, you could ask, recommend that she move it if she can, but the reason I hesitate is she did come
Yeah.
to the planning commission. We sent her to the township code authority, I know the enforcement officer was out there. I had difficulty piling that on her.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Especially,
I'm just using it as an example.
oh, I know.
Well,
No.
it-
Yeah, using her business as an example,
I'll add that under the new 6.8D on page 84, there is an option for variances, so
Oh, okay,
variances
yeah, you
can be
did.
applied for.
Yep,
Because then the township would have the ability to evaluate a variance request just like anyone else's variance
Right.
request. Right, follow the exact same procedures as with any other kind of property variance.
yeah, that's why we had the United States of America, so we all have equal freedom. Well, not equal, we try to, but, okay,
So the main thing we gotta figure out is all this math and how.
Well, and let me just ask real quick for my clarification. So, would you like me to put in there for, signs that incorporate flashing or moving lights, that they just have to be off from dusk till dawn?
See, and again, I don't even know if that's a smart idea either, because then you're saying, oh, you're gonna hamper my freedom of speech at night. I can see somebody saying that.
you know, I can see, the planning commission members, all of them going to make that decision instead of making it on site versus making it in a planning, commission meeting. I would want everybody to go look at it.
Can we add that part to the variance, to where if you apply for a variance, say for strobing flashing sign, if it's along M20 and it's gonna be, you know, a distraction down a primary road, they can say, yeah, on the concept that you turn the sign off at night or something, because maybe when you go there, it can be all part of the location, because if you're on a road, that's not gonna.
Okay, well then, the way to do that would be to leave it as it is here. I can change flashing to strobing if you'd like, but, to still prohibit those signs, then if somebody wants to do one of those signs, that they have to apply for a variance.
I don't know on this.
Can we think about that one?
Yep.
Okay.
Because I feel like, for the most part, like, I don't know, because if you start trying to get into the timing of it, then you're gonna say, someone has to stand out there with a stopwatch, and it's like, there's no good way to do that. It's either probably a yes or a no, the easiest way to do it.
What if the business is still open too after dusk?
Yeah.
You know, if you're telling them they have to turn the light off.
You know, so I don't know if it's, how to word that, how to say that, because I feel like,
To me, the main thing is if it's obstructing, if it's interfering with somebody driving or directly interfering with their neighbor. Let's say they have just this bright flashing light that's going into their neighbor's, bedroom and they can't sleep because those are, to me, would be the two main issues I personally would have. So how would you go about?
yeah, but think about it, eventually we're gonna get more stoplights on M20, like, they're coming.
Right.
More stoplights, eventually are gonna pop up on M20 somewhere, so we get
I hope
more and more
not.
people out here. And as the stoplights or roundabouts, they put a roundabout way out in Freeland in the middle of cornfields, fun fact. So either roundabouts are coming or stoplights are coming at some of these busier intersections. It may not affect them, Lee Township, and it may affect it. And technically a stoplight is a strobing light, cause it switches, so it's one of those things to where eventually that same person on that corner may still complain either way, because now they have a stoplight.
Right.
Okay, well, what if, because we also have in this current draft under subsection G of section 6.4, the new section 6.4, signs which prevent drivers from having a clear, unobstructed view of approaching, intersecting, or merging traffic. What if we just had that as drivers from having a clear, unobstructed view? And then not differentiate between what kind of traffic a car is.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then that may address your concern there. And if you're worried about neighbors and flashing lights and signs, I could put in here something, no signs that qualify as a nuisance. That's a legal word that has a legal definition. If something is a nuisance to the next door property.
So my question though, is we go back to say like grandfathering stuff in, because a non-sign that's stuck in the ground that you pay thousands of dollars for is easy enough to change and switch. But if you start telling the local church, I think isn't there a church over by Floyd Elementary that has a scrolling light
Yeah.
sign?
I don't know.
And then I think,
I'm sorry.
so you start going through some of that stuff and you start telling places like that in the business, okay, you're gonna either have to turn it off, apply for a variance, or yank it out. You're talking thousands of dollars.
But that one doesn't, if there's she said if it's a nuisance or obstructing, that one I feel is not either.
But
Has there been complaints?
now, well, let's play devil advocacy here though. You as a business owner, the planning commission or the board tells them, oh, you can't have that sign anymore because it's a nuisance because it strobes. Well, then I drive around the township and, well, that one strobes at night. And then we're right back here talking to her in 2 years because we ended back up in a courtroom somewhere because our sign ordinance made somebody yank out a very expensive sign, but not somebody else in the township.
That's not our problem.
Well, it is a problem. You gotta think about,
You have to think, but I guess
because the idea that we're here is because.
to be fair
This
and to
ordinance.
have rules that everybody abides by.
Correct, but that's why it's either needs to, in my opinion, either a yes or a no on the strobing lights. Like this straight, like this, you can have it or you can't have it, and in my opinion, if you already have it because of what this old sign ordinance in, maybe come up with some kind of permit or a sticker to grandfather them in since they're already in the ground.
So the way that this current draft in front of you has it it's on page 83 of what's in front of you, the new section 6.7 for non-conforming signs. It does have a somewhat of a grandfathering provision, which says that if there's any change, any restoration, any of those kind of things, that can't be done, but that it can stay as is, if you want to go that route. But again, you're not legally required to. I can take that section out.
Because that's just my only concern is we have a chance to where we have a very talented professional person helping us put this in front of us. And so we owe it, in my opinion, we owe it to the township to make sure that whatever ordinance comes out the other end that we send up to the board is its best self and prevents the least likely capabilities that she has to sit in front of us again. And that's, and I get it that no matter what we do, we're gonna leave some kind of crack where somebody can misconstrue that we're trying to pick on somebody or.
I can agree with section 6.7 non-conforming signs. I'm okay with that. And then I just have a correction for you on page 84, number D under variances. It's called the ZBA, the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Not a problem.
Okay, thank you.
So, I think that's a good thing to think about is how we want to deal with those flashing signs.
Yeah, I guess we'll wait a little bit on that
Okay.
and just give everybody, Kathy, even a chance to look at signs and see what we think. you
Well,
know.
and that's another option, if before the public hearing, if we wanna have one more meeting, we certainly can do that. With our timetable, we would probably have to do it as a special meeting out of order there, but I mean, that's certainly.
I'd rather do that.
We
to
wanna
do it
make
right.
sure to get it right.
Yeah.
Now, this is me being a novice at this and me not being around this as much as, especially you, and you've been dealing with, entities as, like us for a while. Would it be smart on some of this stuff to try to put a survey together and send it out, or is that kinda just keep it to the planning commission to make it the best legal?
Most people keep it to the planning commission, but can you do a survey? Yes. I anticipate, given the variety of options throughout the state, you'll get a variety of opinions, and that's also part of the reason for the public hearing to be held, is so that people can voice those opinions to you.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
So that's,
because we've done a survey for the master plan. It takes a lot of time to write the right questions, send them out, and you're lucky to, we get 20% back for a survey, which is excellent. Normally, it's like 5 or 6%, so I think it would behoove us not to do that. And just take a survey amongst ourselves. We can ask other people too.
okay.
You know, that's the other thing, is to ask some of these business owners what they think. Or ask other people. Just gather input from,
Well, I guess the public hearing afterwards, you can always go back if there's strong pushback on something, you can always go revisit it, correct?
yeah, that's true.
Alright. Now the fun part. The fill in the blank section.
Okay, so everyone was okay with the other provisions until we get to the fill in the blank stuff?
I believe so.
I believe so. Let me double check here.
I'm sure I could read this 1,000 times and still like think about stuff, but.
I like all the stuff you crossed out. But I'm okay with all of it.
Simple, the better. Anybody should be able to try to pick this up and try to understand it.
That's the goal.
I guess I'd need more time. I'd have to go look at, your signs, or not, what's it called? What was
The
I
manual.
have it. I'm gonna say noise ordinance, it's not noise ordinance.
The book.
The book, the state guide to, signs and stuff,
Okay. Well, if we're looking at fill in the blanks, we would start on page 76.
okay,
So when you look at signs exempt from permitting, we put in there for you the 32 square feet that you had previously. But the question is still, how many signs per parcel? And I'll tell you, so this is, again, fairly all over the map, anywhere from probably 5 to 20 throughout the state. The reason why you want to make sure that with these kind of signs, because this would include your typical election signs or something like that, that's portable and temporary. You want to make sure that you have enough for each person in the household to reasonably express their opinion. If somebody has multiple opinions, to, for example, if 4 people are running for office and they want to have 4 different signs out for different things, you want to have enough for that. But you still want to make sure your right-of-ways are clear and traffic can see and emergency people can spot the house and all of these kind of things. So the question is, whether you want to put a number in there or whether you want to say just that the total square footage can't exceed the 32 square feet. And we can increase the 32 square feet if you
So
feel
total
compelled to
all
do that.
signs can't exceed.
If it exceeds the certain number, then they would have to apply for a permit. It's not saying that they can't have it, it's just saying that then they'd have to apply for a permit or a variance.
I like just the idea of saying you have X amount of signs and maybe take away the square footage.
Okay.
And I'm saying, you can say the total sign, like a particular sign can't exceed the 32 square feet.
yeah, I don't
But-
like all of the signs together,
Okay.
equaling 32 square feet, I don't think.
Because somebody has to go out there with a tape measure, and I think that's a little ridiculous to expect even the property owners to have to go out there with a tape measure to say, okay, Lawrence Henry's trustee sign is 4 square feet. My governor whoever the next governor's gonna be, I want a banner sign of theirs out there, and that's, 15 square feet. Okay, I got X amount of feet left, to where I think if we just say no more than, and if you think about it, you go president, governor, senator, congressman, and then you got 5 normally on a board running in Lee Township. Maybe you don't want them all out there. I would push it up to no more than 10 signs. My personal opinion, because then they could literally during election season put out one sign for everybody running pretty much up top and everybody running down low.
Well, what if, like she said, several people in the household who were supported different?
You wanna do the average? She said what, 5 to 20 is the
5
split?
to 25 would probably be a rough range from the state.
So we could go 15?
Oh my gosh.
I know that's a high number, but at
That's
least
a high
nobody
number,
can.
cause there are people that'll abuse it, so we have to be smart about
Well, I know up in
that too.
Greendale last election, there was a couple houses down in 20 that had like 30 out front.
Yeah,
But at the same time, I just wanna make sure that nobody, like,
I don't have a problem, if you have vacant land, you could still put that, so, I have vacant land, so I could put it on my parcel, I can put it on that parcel. I don't think we should exceed 7 or 8, that's in my opinion.
I'd say 10, just so you can go through everybody federally, everybody, if one person really wanted to put a sign out for every person they plan on hitting on the ballot, it'd be about 10.
Yeah, okay, I'm fine with 10, let's just not go over that amount.
And then if there's 2 people in the house and they're one's Republican, one's Democrat, you'd still be able to go 5 and 5.
Yeah, that's fine, 10 is, I'm okay with 10, especially if it's just around, election time.
You know,
Well, remember, this is not just elections, this is any portable or temporary signs.
I
That
know.
could be yard sales, that could be graduation parties, that could be,
yeah.
somebody wants to put up a sign of a flower, I don't know, whatever's on it.
But I just feel 10 is, even if there's 4 people living in that house, you still have multiple rooms for everybody to go put a sign outside. But like you said, if you leave it wide open at 25, you can, then you're looking at, a sign garden. So I
Lining your driveway up with signs.
How about up to a maximum of 10?
And so if we're gonna take out the total 32, subsection 6 has signs less than 3 square feet, that each sign be not more than 3 square feet
I like
to
the
be
32
exempt from
square
permit.
feet.
Well, 32 was the total for
Right.
the signs on the property. What Lawrence was saying was to take out the total, so that people don't have to go around measuring their signs. So this number 6 says, each sign has to be less than 3 square feet.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to change that, or?
No,
well, you gotta think about it. You have the banners that are like 10 square feet during election season, or 12 square feet. So if somebody wanted to put a banner of, I don't know, who's our local Midland state representative right now? I can't think of her name.
Annette.
Annette
Glenn.
Glenn. So if I wanted to put a Annette Glenn sign out on a banner that's like 10 square feet, I would have to come to the township to get a permit to put the banner sign out. And we already got it in here to where it's for traffic safety. And so I'm thinking as long as you have it set to where it's not blocking the road right away, would it look tacky if somebody had 10, 32 square foot signs on their property?
We're thinking election time, but you could have that at other times too.
And it is, but I don't think you should put it an exempt in the sign ordinance thing during election.
No, I'm not saying that, but we have to think of other situations that will apply under the same situation. I mean, instead of saying political signs, let's say, I don't know, I can't even think of a sign.
Yard
right
sale.
now.
Well, even yard sale signs, if you put a yard sale sign up and a neighbor don't like somebody and they say, oh, that's a 4 square foot sign. Now they can come down here and say, you have to go get a permit for a 4 yard sale sign. Or
Okay.
leave it out.
So
So,
the question in the hard balancing act is, what we kind of skipped over, I know, legal questions have been answered about previously, but when you're looking at everything regarding this ordinance, we're looking at enhancing safety, like you talked about, ensuring that the public health, safety, and welfare is protected, there's no confusion regarding the public right away, and emergency responders can show up promptly and be able to find what they're looking for, to reduce clutter and confusion for vehicles and pedestrians, protecting the scenic views and landscapes of the township, protecting the economic viability of the township, and avoiding nuisance conditions. So those are the types of things that we're looking at. So with all that in mind, and understanding that somebody could have 10 of these signs on their property year round, what size do you think would, I guess, help with that? That's the
I like the 3 square foot.
What are the signs, if I go down to Lowe's and buy a yard sale sign, what size is that sign? Anybody know? That's just sitting at Lowe's?
They're usually 1.5 feet by 2 feet.
So that'd be right at 3.5?
Correct.
Okay. Cause that's just my only thing, is I don't want somebody to go to the store, buy what's on the shelf, stick it out beside thinking that they're following the rules, cause it's a store-bought sign, and it'd be under it, so.
No, I think what you're emphasizing with the scope and, not the scope, but the purpose and the intent, I agree with you.
Well, it's just, and 3 is just a number that, some other entities have used. It doesn't mean that it needs to be your number. So if you would feel more comfortable with, 5 square feet or 8 square feet.
Yeah, let's do,
I'm more comfortable with 5.
I do too, I do too.
Now,
Actually, I'd like to raise it to 6, it's 2 foot by 3 foot.
Yeah.
What do you guys?
That's true.
Then pick a standard size.
Yeah.
so, referring back to this, and I'm trying to piece this all together in my mind, and like I said, I can read this 100 more times and still probably not piece it all together. So, does that section comply with the portable temporary signs as well? But if I wanted to put a temporary sign out for, say, I don't know, I wanted to put, congratulations, so-and-so, class of 2022, with a picture on it that's 32 square foot in my yard. And it's just gonna be up for, I don't know, 2 weeks during graduation. I would still have to come down here and get a permit, correct?
Correct, unless if you go down to subsection 9 for flags and banners, which talk about that did 1 per parcel, not to exceed a total of 32 square feet, that flags have to be affixed to a building or a flagpole, and that banners have to be subject to all setback requirements. So it could be set up as a banner, on your house away from the lot lines, and could do it that way. There would be other options.
Okay. And I guess my next question I have for my fellow planning commission is what's this permit? How are we gonna issue these permits?
To the township code authority.
Correct, that's how the ordinance is set up.
Okay. And are they willing to issue?
Yeah, they're doing it now.
Okay. Cause that's my only fear, is it seems like sometimes it's, they're a little slow on doing some of that stuff for us.
It's cheaper than hiring individual people that skilled tradesmen do the same thing, so. Okay, what else?
Okay, so then we get to the fill-in section under section 6.3, because we're eliminating the table that had different types of signs. We're just putting it into this paragraph format. So the question is, per each kind of sign, what you want to allow, if you wanna have a maximum square footage, if you wanna have a maximum height requirement. To assist with this, we did look at, my office did specifically 4 different sign ordinances throughout the state that have had some litigation that seem to be approved, that have gone this route that we're going, of not restricting the content of the sign but just regulating the type of the sign. And that would be Ionia, Grand Rapids, Ann Arbor, and Macomb primarily. So I can give you ranges because like I said, it tends to be a little bit all over the place, and you have to tailor it to your specific township and what you know that you're going to need for your different districts, and that's why this is a hard thing to do.
So,
Go ahead.
No, continue.
No.
I'll trust.
Okay, so what I was going to say is for each of these, I can tell you what those 4 ordinances have done, and then if you want to, I'm dropping things, if you want to make a decision from there, just to try to help guide you on what other entities throughout the state are doing.
Yeah.
But did you want to ask me a question before I?
Well, I was gonna say, should we just copy and paste what we said about 10 by 5 square feet? I'm just gonna flip that over so each zone is just identical.
Well, we can do that too. So the question is whether or not you want to have a difference for ground signs versus pole signs versus wall signs.
Oh, I thought when I read this, it said ground signs are signs directly supported by.
Yep.
And then.
Okay, and so what?
Oh, then the next part's pole signs. Okay, no, I'm.
Yeah, but what we had so the way they were structuring this, you'll be allowing on each lot up to 10 signs per parcel that are either portable temporary signs that are less than 6 feet, if that's acceptable to you, plus allowing any signs that are required by law, right? If they're required to have a fire hydrant sign, right? And whatever other kind of sign. Any signs placed by government entities, any signs not visible from a public space, because if it's not visible, it doesn't meet any of your objectives, right?
I'm glad about that.
Yeah, any historical building markers, any other kind of building markers, and then regulating the flags and banners that they're allowed in all districts, as long as it's currently drafted as all flags on one parcel don't exceed 32 square feet. The flags have to be attached to a building or a flagpole, and the banners have to meet the setback requirements. So you're already allowing all of those. So the question is then, if somebody has to come get a permit that they want something different than those, do you want to have regulations for these different kind of signs?
Okay, I get you now.
And if you don't think that it matters whether it's a residential or a commercial or an industrial, given the makeup of your township, you know, if the foot traffic and the vehicle traffic and you know, the risk of confusion is the same everywhere, then we can structure that differently. Generally, people tend to structure commercial and industrial different from residential.
I would like to.
Well, the only reason why I say it doesn't matter here is because the only spot that's hyper confusing for motorists is driving up and down 20, which literally has every single district along 20. Because once you get out 20, your confusion for driving down the rural roads as far as looking for traffic signs go way, way down.
You do understand 20, all of 20 is not zoned commercial.
That's what I'm saying, we have every single zone, we got
Well, the reason why
agriculture, residential.
it's not just a commercial highway. What I have to say about N20, there's a lot of mom and pop businesses that started on N20, and that's how we have a lot of businesses that we do today. And I guess the fact that there is residential parcels on N20, I don't want to see all. I like industrial and commercial different for sure.
Because we only got 3 industrial lots right now in the township.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was thinking as far as like really super changing, especially ground signs, like in my opinion, it shouldn't really matter.
Well, and ground signs are usually treated differently than pole signs.
Yeah.
And bigger signs. wall signs, taking up the whole side of the building or something like that.
And I agree with you, Mandy, that each one needs, after we get past ground signs, needs to be treated differently, but as far as just the typical ground signs, I would say copy and paste it for all of them. Because,
I like keeping my districts separate. It's not that we just have three, that's what we have right now, 3 industrial, but it doesn't mean that we're not gonna move forward,
well, the only reason.
because one of them is going to be an industrial park. Or we have it classified as an industrial park with different welding services and stuff like that. So, we don't wanna have all these big signs there, all
Well, I
of
was
a
talking
sudden,
just
we're
like,
industrial, now we gotta have these big signs.
I was just talking about the ground signs, the
Oh.
signs you walk out and stick for election,
Yeah,
just copy and pasting those over, saying 10 and 5 foot, as far as for all of them, because if I own say if I move in and I put a fabricating shop for plastics in your park, and then you say, oh, well, you can only have 3 signs, because it's an industrial and I can't go back to political and freedom of speech, and I can't walk out my 10 signs like the lot across from me, that's a house.
Well, that's different, just to make sure that you understand, the portable signs, the portable and temporary signs would still, it's 10 per lot regardless of.
Oh, okay, I guess I'm confused then. Okay,
Yeah.
never mind.
Yep, this would, so the ground signs are specifically signs that are supported by the ground without anything else. So think about a low business sign, a subdivision entrance sign, something to that extent.
Okay,
something
I was
supported.
literally thinking like the wire signs that go on the ground, so. I
No,
was
those would be the
confused.
portable
So,
temporary ones.
my mistake, and I was thinking about the wire signs, so
okay.
you have the right train of thought.
Okay, so would you like to know for the ground signs what other?
Yeah,
Yes,
yes, yeah.
Okay, so for most entities, we're not regulating ground signs in residential districts different than portable signs. They were not allowing a permanent ground sign in the front of residential properties, but again, that's up to you whether you want to. For commercial district, Ionia allows 1 sign, 32 square feet, 6 feet in height. Grand Rapids allows different areas ranging from 18 to 75 square feet depending on which business district, 5 to 6 feet in height, 1 sign per frontage. And Ann Arbor has 1 sign fit up to 50 square feet in area and up to an 8-foot max height.
Do you have some way you can give us this information in
Sure.
a written form?
Yep,
too?
I can send that to you.
Yeah, I would like that.
Okay, so, well, and that's the other thing, now that we're deciding that we would like to have at least 1 more meeting here, would you like me to send you that information, and then we can consider it at the next meeting for the specific numbers to go in?
Absolutely.
Okay,
We can
Okay.
kind of talk about it tonight and get a rough idea where everybody's at, and then
Yeah.
come back next meeting, so we
Okay.
can make sure that everybody's kind of on the same page, and it gives
okay.
possibly our
That's
2
perfectly
other
fine.
members that will have by then a chance to get caught up as well.
Can I
Okay.
go back to the permanent ground
Yes,
sign for residential? You said it's not currently permitted, is that?
well, I was just saying that the 4 ordinances that we looked at did not allow those in a residential district.
Because what I'm not thinking like a business sign, but sometimes people have signs out with their name on it, you know, or
I was just thinking
address
that
or
the giant rock that says
Yeah.
Henry's established,
Yeah.
2016, is that considered a ground sign?
It probably would be, yes.
Oh, wow.
So I think we should probably permit ground signs in
Yeah.
residential because, if somebody has something like that out by the road,
Right,
we don't need neighbors calling and reporting rocks.
right.
Okay, not a problem, we can make sure to have that. And that's where, again, I'm just providing guidance and.
Oh, I
Yeah,
understand.
Yeah.
and thank you so much.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, this is a lot of information, and
A lot to digest, I understand that. And other than what I was going to go through per each one, I think we've covered all of the other parts of the ordinance thus far. So what I'm wondering is if you would like me to get you a revised draft based upon what we talked about
Yeah,
tonight.
let's do that.
Okay, plus the information of the survey from the other ordinances, and I'll give you a full copy of the other ordinances to look at, so that you can
Yes.
see what other people are doing. And then the timeline I just need us to keep in mind is that the public hearing has to be held at least 15 days after we do the notice, and we have to give the county at least 30 days to look at it before the board votes on it, which we
We
needed to
don't
be.
have a county planning commission.
Oh, you don't? Okay, all right, well then we can probably skip that stuff.
Yeah, I want one, but they don't have one.
Okay,
So when is your drop dead date?
October 26th.
October 26th.
Can we still go through, verbally tonight a little bit, what was each that you have on the data?
Sure,
So-
I'm absolutely happy to do that. My only concern is that I have probably 3 pages of text to read to you. If you want me to do that, I'm happy to do that.
If you want, you can probably summarize.
Sure, okay,
some of it,
sure,
Since we're
yeah.
gonna read it later, because that's what you're gonna send us, right?
There we go,
Is it 3
exactly,
pages?
that's a great idea.
Are you good with that, Mary?
Yep.
Since you're sending it, to have her summarize it now, so
Yeah.
Perfect,
we
yep.
kinda know what we're thumbing through later?
Yep,
Yep.
so for pole signs, again, those tend not to be permitted in residential or agricultural, just in commercial and industrial, so that's how this current one was set up, but again, you know your township, we can change that to customize it to what you need. For commercial district, Ionia allows one sign of 48 square feet maximum, with a maximum above 25 foot from the ground, and a maximum clearance from the ground of 8 feet. Macomb allows one sign, 40 square feet maximum, with a maximum of 7 foot height, so a drastic difference there in height. Grand Rapids allows one sign, 50 square feet with 25 feet of height, no clearance requirement. And Ann Arbor allows one sign per frontage, with at least 200 feet between each sign from property to property, and a height of 25 feet max. So the 25 foot max is 2 of them, 7 foot max is 1 of them. So like I said, it's kind of varied there. As far as, and actually that was the same for the industrial district as well. For wall signs, they tend to be permitted in different districts, again, usually agricultural, commercial, and industrial, not as much residential, but that depends on what we want to do. We already have that regulation for flags being separate, so this would be a wall sign attached to the side of a house,
I think
separate apart.
we would have to permit that, because
Okay.
our, home occupants allows them to have signage. So we would have to refer back to that to see if we said they can have something on the side of their barn or house.
Yeah, I think it basically says to check the sign ordinance, but we'll,
I can't remember, so we
Oh,
didn't
yeah, we'll,
verify
okay.
that.
yeah,
So-
we'll look at that.
Okay, so, in a farming agricultural district, Ionia allows 2 signs per frontage with a maximum of 10% of the area of the wall covered. Macomb allows 1 sign with the size should be 1 square foot per foot of principal build frontage up to 150 inches. Grand Rapids allows 1 sign. If it's a window, it can be up to 25% of the area, not to exceed 3 square feet. If it's on an actual wall, 1 that is 24 square feet if it's low density, 32 square feet if it's medium density. And Ann Arbor allows 1 per building, 1 square foot, the size is 1 square foot area per foot of the building, up to a maximum of 6 square feet with a 10-foot max height. Window signs had no restrictions. So, as you can see, again, it runs the gamut and it's what fits the goals for this particular township.
No.
Commercial is almost exactly the same, except, especially for Ionia, for example, they still do the 10% of the area of the wall. Macomb still has the different structure for if it's a window versus if it's a wall. Grand Rapids has different requirements in a commercial district depending on whether or not the wall sign is 6 stories up or in the first 6 stories. Different requirements for those kind of commercial high-rise buildings.
We have to worry about that, Lindsay.
So, you know,
I'm teasing.
bustling cities. Well, you know, you go to Grand Rapids, they've
Yeah,
got
you
some
never know.
high-rises. They do. And like, for example, Ann Arbor, the same. They have different requirements if the building is 20 feet or less or 45 feet or less, as far as where the wall signs can be put and how many on the sides. But think about it, if you've got a big commercial high-rise and you're gonna let each parcel have a sign, I mean, you'd wind up with skyscrapers with a million signs going up them, and as far as the distraction and concern for all those signs. A lot regarding windows do put either 10% or 25% of the window can be covered versus the whole window, that direction. For roof signs, remember these are ones specific from the roof structure, not a wall. These are not permitted in Macomb, Grand Rapids, or Ann Arbor. The sign guidebook that I gave you did have guidance on these. These are the least favored kind of sign. The sign guidebook says don't exceed the height of a roof peak, of your highest roof peak. So let's think that somebody wants to have it, I think that they have a tiered roof and they want to have it on their lowest portion. That's fine, but you can't put it up on the highest portion of the roof. Ionia does allow them one sign that can't exceed 10% of the roof area. So that's there. And then really where the differences come are for the yard signs that we've kind of already talked about. Some people do a total sign area of 16 square feet. Some people do a total sign area of 24 square feet. Some people do 20. Some do 32. Just from these 4 specific ordinances that we went over. So if you guys do 10 signs not to exceed 6 square feet each, you're allowing 60, which is far in excess of the other 4 ordinances that we're looking at. So that's there for you there. And then those are the different kinds of signs as far as that direction.
Now, can I ask you one more stupid question?
Not a stupid question.
Yeah, not a stupid question.
We talked about how, and I agree with, if we can't see it, we don't regulate it. So if somebody has a home occupants and they live 300 yards off the road, 200 yards off the road, so as you turn the corner into the woods and you get to their house and they have a giant banner on the barn, and you may maybe see it in the middle of January when there's nothing on the trees, that would still fall under not being able to see, not being regulated, correct? Under what our definition is right now?
What is not regulated are signs that are not visible from any public space. If it's visible from a public space, it would be regulated.
So even if you're like binoculars through the trees in January, you can see it, that's still visible from a public space, like?
That would be up to enforcement to interpret that. We can clarify that and add more if you'd like to, but like we could say, not viewable to the naked eye from a public space. You know, something like that.
Well, it seems like since I've been elected, there's been time to time where neighbors have a tendency to tit for tat.
That's why we need a good neighbor policy. In our HOA in Arizona, if you do anything, you have to talk to your neighbors first and get them to sign off.
Oh.
Yeah.
I just wanna make sure that kind of what you were.
No,
talking
certainly
about, so.
it would be clearer to put in there, you know, visible by the naked eye in a public space. And when you're looking at your current goals, you're not talking about people with binoculars out there. You're talking
Okay,
about
and I
concern
kind
for
of assumed
pedestrians.
that whoever goes out there to enforce that, if they step out of their car and they're going, oh, I guess if you kind of turn your head just right past all the trees, you can see it.
We could also add if you want, because there's a legal standard for what a reasonable person is, which is what a reasonable person under the same circumstances would do. We can say to the naked eye of a reasonable person from a public space. That's perfectly fine too, if you'd like to add that.
I think that's something we might want to think about.
Yeah, that's, yeah, I think so too.
Okay, can do.
So I think that would go a long ways in enforcing a lot of this stuff, is if it's what a reasonable person would think, because then you don't have to have that discussion, or anybody in the future, even after we're moved on and, or whatever from this position, that you don't have to have that discussion with somebody of, well, yeah, you're right, he does have a 100-foot banner across his house, but you gotta take the binoculars out, and you only can see it in the months of January and February with binoculars. Then you can say it's not a reasonable, and it's there instead of just stating you can see it in a public space.
I will tell you though, from what you're describing, if it were completely clear to a person standing in a public space, even if it's just for a period of 2 months, it
Well, I'm
would
talking
be
like with binoculars for the 2
Right.
months, like.
Right, but if we say to the naked eye from a reasonable person, that doesn't mean you stand on your head and twist sideways to
Yeah.
try to
Yeah.
see something. That's more so what I'm trying to say. If we add in that reasonable person, it won't be, well, if I cock my head at a 20-degree angle, maybe I could possibly.
like
I like it because you just
Right.
walk up and it's either you see it or you don't see it right away.
Yeah.
And if you see it right away, yep, you're right, it's right there, plain as day. And if you have to sit there and like walk up and down the road looking for an angle to see it, then it's like, this isn't reasonable.
Right.
And I kinda like that language because it's gonna save a lot of, I think, discussion down the road.
Right, and I can definitely add that.
And have some people question, am I being reasonable?
No, Marie,
So, yeah, not a problem there.
Anything else other than
Well,
that?
isn't there anything else that I can address for you at this meeting before?
No,
giving
once you give
more
us the
information?
material,
Okay,
And I'll have just as many questions the next time you come
and
back,
that's
so.
that's what I'm here for, to make sure that you guys get the best guidance and make the best choice you can. So,
Because I don't know about you two, but I'm literally looking at this and I don't want her to have to come back, is the way I'm viewing this.
Oh, I don't mind you coming back.
No, I'm talking in 2 years because somebody,
Oh, I don't think that'll.
somebody, looked at it and said, oh, you're,
Well, it wasn't, it was.
as you said, nothing can be perfect, but we can be as clear as
No.
possible.
and that's my goal, is I just want it to be enforced as clear as possible, and someone can pick it up and follow it as clearly as possible, and there's not a one way or the other can construe, you know, how it's supposed to be written or understood. I want it to be somebody that's enforcing it can read it and say, no, it says right here, blah, 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 and hand it to the person that's supposed to do it and be able to read it and go, nope, yep, you're right, my bad, I didn't have it set up right. And there's no discussion of anything.
I like it,
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
so
very
we're
good
heading in the
direction.
right direction.
yeah.
So then you, with our timeline, you guys might need to let me know if you want me to come back the end of August or the beginning of September. But I think that we should have at least one more meeting before the public hearing, which I don't know when your September meeting is set for.
Oh, let me, 1, 2, 3. It is for the 15th. No, it's for the 21st. I'm sorry, I wrote that down.
Okay.
I was counting the 3rd Wednesday, and I meant the 3rd Tuesday. Yep, the 21st.
So we probably should try to have a meeting probably before then, if her,
Oh, yeah, I think
Thursday.
early September.
At least 15 days before that, so that we have time to notice out the public hearing. So that would be before the, am I counting? Before the 6th?
cause if the drop dead.
That's
date-
Labor Day too.
Right, so we may wanna fit in, and I know it's relatively soon, but the last week of August, the
Or
The
first or
30th.
second of September.
31st, first, I am unavailable on the 2nd, I am
Oh,
available
okay.
on the 1st.
Can we do the 1st? I feel better because that gives us at least 2 weeks to look through the material you're gonna send us. And I don't think it'll be a long meeting because we've peeled off layers.
Well, we're getting there, but
Yeah.
like I said, I'm fine to, take as much time as we need to on this, we wanna make sure to get it right, so.
Cause then the 21st would be our public hearing,
Yeah,
and then the October meeting,
Can be the approval by the board.
yeah.
so what we might have to do is we might have to make a motion, at that 21st meeting to move our normally scheduled October meeting to in front of the board by a week, so we can have our October meeting approve it and then pass it to the board, because as of right now, our meetings are after the board,
Mm-hmm.
so we would not be able to give this to the board before their October meeting,
Oh, I see.
which would cause them to have a special meeting.
Right.
So we may, wanna put on our notes to, in September, make a motion to move that October meeting forward.
Oh, we can do it tonight.
Um,
I'll just put it that way, I can post it.
What's the second Monday in October? That is the board meeting,
The 11th.
so
Yeah,
we
the
need to
11th.
have it before the 11th. So probably, I'm looking at 4th or the 5th.
Yeah, that sounds
Probably,
good.
so we can get it approved, get it emailed over, and give everybody on the board a reasonable amount of time to read the material, so they can,
You know, I think what I'm gonna do is, we have a site plan coming up, and possibly Friday. I'll talk, Kathy will be there,
Okay.
and how about the three of us will talk about it ahead of time, which day is good, and then,
well, we can make this motion Friday and
Right.
talk to her in a public setting, so it's out.
oh no,
and
that's
two-
fine.
And two, well, I guess that doesn't give us.
I just don't wanna bother her on her vacation, that's all.
Alright.
But, we can set it up, let's go ahead and set a date, and then she can be there.
Well, if we set the September 1st, you could then set another meeting at that September 1st.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so September 1st at 7?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. I will be here. And
okay,
I'll get you those revised materials beforehand.
okay, thank you very much.
Anything else I can do
Yeah, Venti Espresso Frappuccino
Right?
with 3 extra shots of espresso.
I could
Thank
use
you
one
very
too.
much.
I could use one too, I'll bring them for the next meeting.
I won a bet, and that's what I won. It's my favorite.
Alright, well then I will get it to you, and if you guys need anything further, let me know.
Okay,
Let me work a piece of paper here and give you my email again, cause I didn't get nothing last week from
Oh,
you.
I sent it to Marie and she
Oh.
was sending it out.
So maybe that's why I didn't see it, cause I got so many emails last week. I was
it could be, I did
special.
send it out right before the meeting.
It might have just blended into the agenda and I just.
I'll send it out again.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah, wanna make sure that you're looking at
So,
it. I wanted you all to get it at the same time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Alright.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone need a break or anything, or not?
I say we try to power through.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. The correspondence, I'm gonna bring up correspondence will be number 5, so you have to remember to see this. Okay, we got a letter, the planning commission did from Becky Grice. She attended our, August 12th meeting that we had last week. It was a special meeting. And I'd like to read her letter. She's apologizing for something I don't think she has to apologize for.
I agree.
This is from Becky. I want to apologize that my question on timing for people who violate zoning caused such an uproar at the meeting. It was not my intent. I guess I don't see a problem with what she said. As some of you know, I have become more interested and active in our local community and government. I have been reading MTA, other government websites to ensure that I am an informed resident. I have been attending the board meetings since March and felt like I was finally getting a hold of that portion of our local government, so I decided I would start attending the planning meetings. I do have to say, until public comment, I thought the meeting was well officiated. Good job. As I have been unable to view a copy of the planning ordinances since they are not online yet, I wanted to understand the policy around zoning issues. My questions are, and once again, Becky had every right to ask all her questions, and she was polite. If there is property that is against zoning, what is the process that is followed? Who enforces the zoning issues, the board or the planning commission? Is there a time frame that the property owner has to abide by to get the property back into compliance? If there is a time frame, is all the same for all properties, or is it up to the board or the planning commissioner's discretion? The first question I'd like to answer is, if there is a property that is against zoning, what is the process that is followed? Preferably, we would get a complaint, and, we would go and look at the property to see, what the complaint is, alleging, and then, we would discuss it at a planning meeting. And, we would decide then what to do, to write a letter or, at least inform them that there is a problem. Who enforces the zoning issues, the board or the planning commission? Actually, it's the, code enforcement officer, and we bring up the questions or situations equally to them, and they do the enforcement. Is there a time frame that the property owner has to abide by to get the property back in compliance? I would think it's reasonable, amount of time. The matter that Becky Grice is speaking about is at 2773 West Olson, and it's actually been going on for 10 to 15 years, and I guess we want it less, the time frame to be less than 10 or 15 years to be back in compliance. If there is a time frame, is it the same for all properties, or is it up to the board or the planning commission's discretion? It is something that is recommended. We don't have the authority to enforce it, because that, once again, the enforcement function is not our problem. It's highlighting the zoning problems that we do have and pursuing compliance. And a lot of it is just letting people know that they're out of compliance. And a reasonable person would hopefully make the attempt to get back into compliance again. And then I have an update on, so Becky, thank you for your questions. I don't see any problem. I only had a problem with one person that talked in the meeting, or actually yelled at the meeting, that did not identify herself. That was my only problem. Also, we have an update on August the 16th, the property at 2773 West Olson Road. That was the one that had over 99 vehicles plus. Many vehicles, yes, many vehicles on residential ag property. It's only allowed on industrial as a special use, so it's not an easy permit to get. The owner has said, the following is an update on the cleanup at 2773 West Olson Road, Sanford, Michigan. I have removed 31 car bodies, 3.47 ton of scrap metals, 10 semi-truck tires, and a total of 60 passenger tires as of today's date, which is yesterday. I have reported this information to the Lee Township Supervisor. I plan to have the car bodies and the scrap metal removed from the property by September the 1st, 2021. I say excellent, and thank you very much, Mr. Stuckman.
You said 3.32.
Oh, it's 13.47 ton, did I say 3? 13.47 ton of scrap materials. That is a lot. Okay, I'm happy with the update. For new business, we're gonna go into new business. Just a reminder for rezoning, there isn't a lot written in our books. It's just that you have to look at the district they're in, what district they wanna go to, how does it fit overall, visit the site, and try to imagine yourself as a person living near there.
Mm-hmm.
And would you agree with it? And the last thing is the future land use map gives a designation of what areas will go commercial in the future, if that's what they're looking at, or go industrial. And make sure it's on the future land use map so that it shows it has been considered. The rezoning that we'll be having coming up, and I haven't heard any updates yet, is for Dollar General at the corner of 7 Mile and North 7 Mile and M20. Okay, the site plan for Lovely Garden, it's a hydroponic store on the old Mullins restaurant, and they have tried to get someone to draw up their site plan for over 6 weeks now. And
That's next to BP, right?
Huh?
That's next to BP?
Yeah, it's next to BP, yes. So, they have found somebody that will, redraw the site plan for them, and he's working on it, he's on the final draft right now. We're hoping to have a meeting, a site plan meeting, on Friday. Are you there?
I should be available Friday.
Okay.
Should.
Okay,
Um,
we'll talk about it as it
and
gets closer.
I'll try, and if something does come up, I'll be trying my butt off to try to get here.
Okay, I
And,
appreciate that.
and I am looking for possibly something else if the conflict of hours keeps happening, but we'll see what happens.
On
Okay.
Friday though, I think I sent you a text on that, I'm available Friday afternoon, but not after. Kathy said she could be here Friday, she said she'll be in town about noon.
Right, I got that text, I was just trying to keep it open there to
Okay.
figure out, yeah.
Okay.
And give me a second to verify, but I'm pretty sure I am off Friday, so.
Oh,
okay, that would be good.
Perfect, yeah.
What I wanna do is give Kathy a little bit of time to,
Right.
she's leaving her hotel, I just wanna
Yeah.
give her a little bit of catch-up
I
time.
thought when he said Friday, because I assumed that Lawrence was working during the day.
Oh,
Friday, so I was
yeah.
thinking you meant
Most Fridays
this
I
week.
am.
Okay.
No,
my
I was
normal
thinking
schedule is
more
Friday, Saturday,
earlier.
Sunday. But I'm heading up to my schedule here and I will pull it up.
Okay, so the site plan for Lovely Garden is in works. I wanted to discuss the competencies for planning commission members, expectations, performance of duties, and I wanted input from you guys. In the Planning Enabling Act, and I think I handed all these out to you guys right here.
Yes.
Okay. It says that, oops, here, you may not.
Yes, I'm off Friday.
Oh,
yeah.
good.
Anytime Friday or fine.
Okay, what's the latest you could be on Friday, Eric?
Would maybe one work? Would one be okay?
One would be okay, I would think that gives Kathy an hour to, come back, so that
Okay.
she can adjust that.
Okay.
1 or 1:30.
Because it won't take long, any
No,
other.
yeah. I guess I'd rather do 1:30 if you don't mind, or 1 o'clock? Let's do 1 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do 1 o'clock on Friday. But that's tentative until I hear from the draftsman.
Yep, just remember to try to have everything posted and informed,
Yeah,
of the meeting.
yeah, it'll be a special meeting, so we only need 18 hours.
Yep, I just wanted to remind you the 18 hours.
Yeah, okay,
So,
thank you. Okay, in the Planning Zoning Enabling Act, it says, the membership of a planning commission shall be representative of important segments of the community, such as the economic, governmental, education, and social development of the local unit of government, in accordance with the major interests as they exist in the local unit of government, such as agricultural, natural resources, recreation, education, public health, and government, transportation, industry, and commerce. The membership shall be representative of the entire territory of the local unit of government to the extent practicable. Members of the planning commission shall be qualified electors of the local unit of government, except that the following number of planning commission members may be individuals who are not electors of the local use of government, but are qualified electors of another unit of government. We can have legally one person that is not a Lee Township resident that can be on the planning commission. But they recommend that that person has some sort of interest, even though they don't live in the township, but they have some sort of interest in Lee Township, whether it be a business, property ownership, and we can have only one such individual. And then, let's see. I think some of the competencies, and let me see. I've got another piece of paper here. Sorry about that. competencies we need for, planning commission members? What have you learned that you need to, make, special time for?
To make special time for it?
Well, to read and, I mean, you know what I mean, just to get ready for the meetings, what does it take and,
You
Definitely
said,
going over the zoning, cause you'll never,
you'll never know.
you'll never, yeah, you'll never memorize it, so
Yeah.
that'll be forever, you know, going over that.
and don't memorize it or look it up.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of reading that I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
think people realize that there
Right.
is in planning. And if you have difficulty reading, a lot of it is legalese, so, think about that as well.
In my personal opinion, a planning commission member, they need to be able to have the willingness to take the time to do the research, the willingness to look at the zoning ordinances, completely neutral of what is going on in the world and what is going on with their neighbors, their friends, and everything else, and be able to say, these are the rules that were discussed, put forward into this township long before I sat in this chair. As long as it is still constitutionally sound, we need to, abide by it. If it's no longer constitutional sound, I need to get my other planning commission members to recognize that, and we need to fix it. And I think as long as, in my opinion, you stay in that scope of very neutral and you just do what this says, and you can read and have the time to do it, and you are at this point, because we do, I think we already have our one that's outside of the township
Mhm.
officially. So as long as they're a resident of
And
the
we are
township,
looking for applicants as well, for
Yeah.
people that are interested, so.
as
I
long as-
want, if you don't mind, I don't mean to interrupt, but I wanted to read a little bit of what the planning commission membership, it says in our, MTA authorities and responsibilities of Michigan townships. And it says township planning commission consists of 5, 7, or 9 members appointed by the township supervisor, subject to approval by a majority of the township board elected and serving. Vacancies are filled the same way for the remainder of the vacant position's term. Planning commissioners hold over and continue to serve until a successor is appointed. That's the law. With the exception of the ex officio member, planning commission members are appointed to staggered 3-year terms. When a planning commission is newly established or to recover the staggered terms, a third of each of the planning commissioners are appointed to 1, 2, and 3-year terms. In a township, all planning commissioners must be electors, but one planning commissioner may be a non-elector, non-resident, such as a property owner, business owner, or representative of a significant interest in the planning commission in the township. The membership of a planning commission must be representative of important segments of the community, such as economic, social, educational, social development of the local unit of government, such as agriculture, natural resources, education, public health, government, transportation, industry, and commerce. The membership shall also be representative of the entire territory of the local unit of government. I think some of the best planning commissions we ever had is we had somebody that worked in healthcare, somebody that was, had worked 40 years in a construction company, another gal was a professional secretary, another gal, had just done a whole lot of, working in different organizations, so we melded together. And it was because of the difference in interest, not the likeliness of how we thought that we were alike. I want people that are not like me. I
Yeah,
want
you don't
people.
want groupthink. Groupthink stands
No,
for
I
some
do not want
organization.
groupthink at all. Okay, we'll just continue this maybe, I wanna read something about conflict of interest of planning commission members, because I think that is something that has been brought up. Unless the township board by ordinance defines conflict of interest for the purposes of the planning commission, the planning commission must do so in its bylaws, which we have in our bylaws. Before casting a vote on a matter on which a member may be reasonably considered to have a conflict of interest, the member must disclose the potential conflict of interest to the planning commission. The member is disqualified from voting on the matter if so provided by the bylaws or by a majority vote of the remaining members of the planning commission. Failure of a member to disclose a potential conflict of interest constitutes malfeasance in office. Okay, thank you. Okay, now we're, any other new business that you want to discuss or not? No? How about old and unfinished business? I just want to reiterate that we really need to have our planning ordinances combined by a professional so that you can look at one book. We're really out of compliance right now with not having anything on the website.
I kinda looked through a Google search the other night, so I was like, who can we get to put this together? And you came up with a couple names, and I tried like 7 different search terms for zoning and everything else like that, and I went like 4 or 5 pages deep each time. Unless you contact a law firm or a professional, maybe printing firm, I don't know if there's gonna be too many companies out there that can go through, tear out the pages we don't need, put the new pages in.
No, what happens is that I've done a revamp of the zoning ordinance when we did our last ordinance amendment. And we didn't have a lot, so I went through it myself and just came up with a revised copy. And then we just took it to the printer and just printed all new.
And I don't know if that's a Saturday workshop that we, as a planning commission, wanna try to put together. And also,
The best way to do it, I think, and, is to have Rodney, who wrote the ordinances. You're gonna have to change things in chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, because they all tie into all the ordinance amendments. And I'm gonna recommend, I'm getting an estimate from, Rodney, but I would prefer that he do it versus somebody else that would have to relearn all the ordinances again and figure out where to make all the changes and stuff.
is
It's kinda
there,
like,
you know, of any other local companies that would even tackle such a thing? That work with local governments and?
if we wanna bid, yeah, if we wanna make a bid, we could have Spicer do it, but they don't do small jobs and they don't charge by the hour.
All I know is if it's over the $300 that we should and we need to try to come up with as close as 3 bids as possible. Now, if there's
Oh,
nobody
that's
else in
fine.
the
No, I'm
Tri-Cities,
gonna try other people,
or,
yes.
you know, even in the, you know, in Michigan, you know, that's one thing, but we should try.
Oh, I can
You
give
said-
an estimate.
And you said Spicer, do you know anybody else that even tackles this? Cause I don't.
Spicer's the main firm. He was actually, Rob Eggers was the, he's the planning coordinator for, Midland County.
Do we have a third, cause we're supposed to get three estimates?
I don't know, I'll have to check.
Cause, and
Or you can,
what's the key, what's the Spicer, like, what describes their company, so I can try to Google search that?
oh, engineering, landscaping, architects, what
They'd
else?
all kinda tackle this type of project, cause maybe that was my
This is
problem.
like a minor project for them.
Okay. So, okay, I'll call around and I'll try to find that third one too, and maybe we can come up with even more than 3. I just know unless
No,
Rodney-
I agree with 3
Yeah.
bids. It's just, like in some areas, it's hard to
It's
get
hard.
3 bids.
Yes, absolutely, I think this is gonna be one of them. But I have a
We
feeling Rodney
can try.
charge more than $300, so we should try to follow that policy if it comes back with over 300.
Yep, no, I agree. I think we should look for 3, actually.
And someone that does it by the hour will probably come in probably cheaper, but we still need to. do
Yeah,
our
that's
due
fine,
diligence and
because
go
we
over
don't
it.
know if it's a good bid.
Yeah,
Which I do object to the, board approving up to $10,000 for the splash pad. I thought that was not good. That's a lot of money. Anyways, that's my personal opinion, and it doesn't reflect the opinion of the planning commission. And I gave an update on the ordinance violation at 2773 West Olson Road, and I guess I'd like to just table the future direction, have you guys think about how we move forward. Because we've already done phase one, we
Yeah.
need to decide where to concentrate our efforts.
What you're speaking of now?
Okay, what do we study next? Do we do the master plan? I can see us
When was the
doing
last?
2015.
2015, so it's due, cause every 5 years,
Well, you just have to review every 5
Yeah,
years.
that's what I'm
You don't
saying.
have to do it.
I think reviewing should be something after we get, cause I think we should get the sign ordinance squared away. We should make sure that we get any and all, businesses that are trying to get their stuff.
Yep.
That needs to be a focus.
And
And I
then
think
the map
after we get-
for, the map for Joe Rose has to be updated too, because it's classified as residential ag. His land was mistakenly put as residential ag.
Okay.
It should have been commercial, so we'll change that with, GIS.
But I think after all that kind of settles down and we get that ordinance taken care of, I agree with you, Mary, I think we need to move into reviewing
Yes.
and deciding if the master plan is good as written, or if we have to update anything in the master plan.
Well, I would like to just have a side, like we'll, just stay extra or come in early before a meeting to discuss the master plan. It's something I don't wanna take time for in a meeting.
Right.
At least just throw ideas out there. I just
So
think,
maybe have a public hearing a half hour before the regular meeting, because for us to
or we
say.
can have an open, yeah, we'll
Well,
have,
we have to label it as something if there's 5 of us.
right, it'll be like a workshop is what we'll
Okay.
have, but,
Alright, and then whenever we decide to do that, just make sure on your announcement that before the meeting, there's a master plan workshop starting.
oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay, I just wanna
Yeah.
make sure that we're setting on.
Yeah,
Or
we've
something
done that
like that.
before, that's what we did
Awesome.
all our, and we did it as an extension of per diem, not per meeting, so I like the per diem better. Okay, I guess I'd like to table the future direction of the PC and table discussing the master plan, maybe just have, workshops before our meetings and have it open,
Yeah, no
and
one's.
people just chat and chew.
Yeah.
So,
I'm okay with that.
okay,
I'll make a motion to table those.
okay,
A second.
good, there's a second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed, same sign, please. Okay, you wanna move on to public comment?
I'm good.
Okay. Any public comment?
Your meeting is wonderful, peaceful, working together. I love it. Just,
Thank you.
Thank you.
We do work at it, we try to get along.
I've learned something.
Okay, we gotta write note the beginning and ending of the public.
Oh. 8:42.
Yeah. Okay, and I make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed, we are adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, Heidi.
This is yours, right?
Yes.
I have one too, and I